Mr. George, the curious little monkey. He must know what everything's about. Curious George, the curious little monkey. What's he up to? Let's find out.
Curious George at the parade. Today is the day of the big parade, George, said the man with the yellow hat. There will be marching bands and clowns and floats from many countries. Let's go early to watch the people finish their floats. Soon they were at the parade grounds. There was a float from Mexico with a huge sombrero all made of yellow flowers. And there was a float from Holland with a windmill driving a small water wheel. And there were many more floats. They're going to give a prize to the best float at the parade, George, said the man. Take a closer look, but don't get into trouble. The next float came from Germany. It had the biggest clock that George had ever seen. What was inside it? George was curious. He jumped onto the float and disappeared behind the clock. Suddenly, the clock struck 3. A door opened. Figure after figure came out. And right in the middle of it was George. Some men were still working on the float. Look, one of them said, there's a real monkey. He might break the clock, shouted the other one. Quick, let's go up and get him. It was time to get away. George jumped off the clock and ran over to the next float with animals and a palm tree on it. A man was sitting under the tree playing a drum. This must be the African float. The parade started. It was too late for George to leave now. The parade went down the street. Float after float went past the judges' stand. The judges would decide which float would get first prize. As the African float passed by the stand, George looked out of the tree and saw his friend, the man with the yellow hat, standing near the judges. George waved to him, and the man waved back.
Look, did you see that live monkey on the float?
One of the judges cried.
What a marvelous idea. Very realistic,
said another judge. Everyone cheered and applauded George up in the tree. And George waved at them. At the end of the parade, the judge awarded the first prize to the African float. The man who had been playing the drum accepted the trophy.
Congratulations,
said the judge.
Thank you,
said the man. Then he turned to George.
This is your prize,
he said.
Hold everything,
said a man rushing through the crowd.
That little monkey almost ruined our clock float. He caused a lot of trouble. Well, what should we do about this?
Asked the judge. George was sad.
But Judge, said the man from the African float, we wouldn't have one without him.
I guess we'll let him go, said the man from the clock float. There wasn't much damage.
And George can keep his prize,
added the judge. I have an idea, said the man with the yellow hat. Let's all go back to our house and celebrate. And so they did. What a nice way to end the day.